And good morning, Patriots. Chris and Karyn here, welcoming you to the show. Tony Shaffer will be in just a little bit. We're going to have a very cool guest too, Christina Bobb, and we're going to talk, Karyn, about her book centering on the raid at Mar-a-Lago. And I have a lot of questions about that,
Uh,
essentially because they were all declassified papers and not classified, like the media was trying to lead people to believe.
Chris, she is one of the most amazing people on the Trump team. And, I can't say enough good things about her. And when I saw your email that she was going to be a guest on the show, I was super excited. And I'm even more excited that she took the time to write this book because she was behind the scenes. She was the attorney that was there when they came in with the raid from Mar-a-Lago. And the magistrate that signed that raid on Mar-a-Lago also happens to be the magistrate that put me in a maximum security federal prison for 30 days.
Huh.
So Christina and I had a nice time sitting in the gallery of the courtroom during some hearings, and I'm a big fan of her. She's an amazing human being, and somebody who's been very supportive of the president, but even more so has been really supportive of freedom and looking at the legal abuse that's taking part in the system, which is something that a lot of us have been screaming from the rooftops about. And there are so many people that have been affected on some level with legal, persecution, including Donald Trump. And behind the scenes, there were a lot of other people like Christina Bobb who experienced it firsthand, and her book is going to be off the charts. So great get on the guest, Chris. You're rocking this morning. I love it.
I rock. I like to rock. I'm going to pull out the old baritone and rock a little bit later on. Maybe that or the accordion. I can play both. What I am going to be doing as things progress here, I'm bringing the keyboard. By the way, I
Oh,
play all right. I'm going to do that. We're going to have some fun with that. We're going to add music to the show. Let's see what the Patriots think about that. However, you did gloss
well,
over. Now hold on. You did gloss over something I want to bring up again.
well,
You were in
go.
30 days.
Wait, what did you say?
You were in jail for 30 days.
I was in a maximum security federal prison. I was in FDC Miami, Chris. You obviously have not read my book, but
I'm just saying, I'm just being nice saying jail. It's a morning show, but I'm
yeah,
thinking, so
it's prison. It wasn't even really like a jail. It wasn't like I was in some like Softy County lockup or some prison camp that Martha Stewart was in. I was in FDC Miami. I was did 30 days in a facility that's a detention center, and it's maximum security, and it's 20 stories tall in the middle of downtown Miami with slits for windows and no outside. And I saw a lot of things, but it was we walked through this life, and it makes me more grateful every day that I've lived through that experience, because these are the things that shape our character and our soul and who we are. And God makes us the way God intended us, Chris, and perfect lead into Jesus calling. It was a
yes.
really great time to reflect and really reevaluate my relationship with God. And it took a lot of time to get where I was at. But coming out of it, I had so many blessings that came out of that crazy, wild experience. And I know Christina feels the same about, a lot of the things that she went through. And when I talk about the things that I went through or she went through, it's not about us. It's about all of the people that were affected, because what that experience brought me to in being legally persecuted by a system that was run by Democrats who were dirty and corrupt, it taught me that I wasn't alone, and it made me want to stand up for other people. And Christina's fight is about all Americans. It's not just about her. And my fight wasn't about me. It was all of the families that were being abused. And now, the lawyer that was involved was suspended, and I could go on and on. But at the end of the day, corruption is corruption. And when we look at corruption, there's one word that just keeps coming up, and it's Democrats.
Yeah, there you
That's the
go.
word.
Perfect. It's
That's the word.
synonymous. It's
It's
synonymous.
synonymous. There's no way around it. Show me another argument that proves me wrong. But so far, nobody's been able to prove me wrong there.
But let's get into the news after Jesus calling. It's the perfect time for
Okay.
Jesus calling.
It is. It sure is. And I'll get my phone out and I'll get it. And I promise all of you in the chat that I will be in there shortly. I was trying to get in this morning. Had some rumble issues. I might have to give them a call, but today's Jesus calling is great. They're always impactful, and today is no different. I continually call you close to me. I know the depth and the breadth of your life and need for me. I can read the emptiness of your thoughts when they wander away from God. I offer you rest for your soul as well as refreshment for your mind and body. As you increasingly find fulfillment in me, other pleasures become less important. Knowing me is intimately like having a private wellspring of joy within you. The spring flows freely from my throne of grace, so your joy is independent of circumstances. So, waiting on my presence, God's presence, keeps you connected to me, aware of all that I offer to you. If you feel any deficiency, you need to refocus your attention on me. This is how you trust me in the moments of your life. I think that's a great reminder for all of us to reflect in prayer today. And, they recommend some Psalms related to this devotional. So I'm going to actually, and I don't usually read these, but it's Psalm 1312, if anybody's interested in reading it. And I like this one. It's Psalm 21:6, Chris. It's, you have endowed him with eternal blessings and give him the joy of your presence. So beautiful way to start the day.
Oh, those are beautiful verses too. It's a good thing that we have Jesus calling here when you're here. And I think a lot of people could use Jesus calling. We're talking about the Ukraine war. Well, we'll get into that when Tony gets here. I want to talk a little more about, or at least before the guest comes on, I want to talk a little about the meeting between Zelensky and the EU leaders. The big story, I guess, right now, and again, even behind the peace talks, or even ahead of the peace
Hmm.
talks, is Donald Trump's recent announcement. He made this announcement yesterday that he was going to end mail-in ballots for,
Yeah.
and he wants to do this by the 2026 midterms. Now we know that the liberals, the left, is going to fight this kicking and screaming. But the fact is, he can issue an executive order and make it happen, lawfare or not. And the Dems are really upset because now they're looking at the fact that the Trump takeover cleaned the streets of DC in what, 3-4 days? We'll have a video of that too. And now he's going to clean up elections. And the Democrats are upset about that. And you know why? Because you just said it 3 minutes ago. The synonym for corruption is
Democrat. Right there, all day, every day. But, we've all been doing this long enough, whether it's the people in the chat living their lives, being on the planet for a couple of decades, you pretty quickly figure that out. And if you haven't figured that out, you're a part of the problem, right? Like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? But when you look right now at Democrats and the way that they're falling apart, what are they going to do, Chris? These are their entire platform is built on fraud, whether it's the fraud and abuse in the elections or the fraud and abuse in the justice system. It's all the same thing. The mail-in ballot thing, I mean, this is a long time coming. It's about time, I think, is what all of us are saying this morning.
Oh, there are some legal experts who challenge the notion that Donald Trump can change that kind of law, that kind of regulation by executive order. Number one, and this argument was made during the 2020 COVID rules, that the federal government shouldn't be bossing states around when it comes to elections. On the other hand, this could be declared an emergency, and he can do this. Like COVID was an emergency, so this could be declared something like that. Election integrity can be an emergency. You can do that, and maybe not by executive order, but he has a slim margin in the House, and he has a fairly decent margin in the Senate. This can actually be codified by 2026.
Yeah, of course. And there's no way that you can deny that, even if you're completely insane. The guy is an action man. He always has been, always will be. And what he's done is clean up the streets of DC. I was having a conversation this morning with my husband. It sounds weird saying husband, but I'm recently married, so I can say
Nice.
husband, which is
Yeah.
cool. And we were talking about the fact that he was making a prediction that all of these cities are going to be in an upcry, that they're going to want the National Guard to come in and they're going to want to clean up the streets. I mean, look at Portland, look at, Manhattan, look at New York, look at everything that's happened in this country. The uprise in crime and the uprise in violent crime by these illegals. So, that's a prediction. I don't know. I tend to think that these blue places, that people are so delusional that they are completely inept in making any changes for themselves. It's sad but true. I have little faith in New York. I mean, once you have somebody like Mamdani who's willing to run, and not only willing to run, but now you have people that are going to actually support this Yahoo. I mean, that to me just shows how far the city has slipped, and it's slipped into an abyss that it may never get out of.
Hey, there's a guy who might be even worse running in Minneapolis.
Who?
And I
Oh,
forget his name. He's another mini Mamdami who's a mini
he
Sadiq
is.
Khan. And
Mhm.
and this is the thanks that whiny woke mayor who bent over backwards to be as virtue signaling and as woke as possible over the last few years. This is the thanks he got for doing that. And they're primarying him. So woke doesn't work for anybody. But you bring up Washington D.C., so let's push that up a little early. This fellow named Nick Sorter put up a nice little video of Washington D.C. at night in, I guess, a recent night. Check it out. What don't you see?
Wow.
Right, it is strangely empty.
Mhm.
They're afraid. Criminals, for the first time in a long time, are afraid to walk the streets.
To go outside, yeah, as they
That's
should
what,
be, as
right.
they should be. There was a time when criminals hid. It was calling going on the run. Remember when people would go on the lam, they'd go on the run, they'd try to hide from the crimes that they had perpetuated. Now they don't have to hide because they just let them out. Hopefully, maybe this is the start of things to come, right?
Well, let's hope so. The fact is, though, look, you can't federalize every city. It's not going to happen.
No, of course
But
not.
but other leaders, the problem is people should vote out the far left. The far left, the far left leadership. I'm using leadership in a loose sense, Karen. The far left
Mhm.
leadership in these blue cities let the criminals run rampant. They let the criminals run free. These people are right. You see the videos all the time. People are getting certain fatigue, if you will, that's been running around the internet, and I think you've heard about that. Problem is, they won't do anything about it because their constituency is criminal.
Yeah,
And that's
absolutely. Trixie's in the chat and she says, round them up, round them up. I think they're all ready to see the streets be cleaned up. And, maybe it'll be inspiration. Maybe Donald Trump can provide inspiration. I mean, look at what's going on. I mean, look at those EU leaders standing up with him yesterday. What a beautiful thing. What an amazing time. The golden age of America has arrived.
well, and that's true too. And
It is.
trust me, we heard Democrats, your liberal friends on social media, yammering on about.
Do I have any of those? Do I have those anymore, Chris, or did I
I have
eliminate all of
some of
them?
them. I still
Do
have some
you?
because
You're so nice.
I keep them around for laughs. Are you kidding me? You
Ooh,
need them. And besides,
I
you
don't
have.
know that I find it funny.
Oh, I do. I find it hilarious because these people are absolute know nothings, and they're saying, Donald Trump. Nobody respects him. Nobody likes him. Well, you saw the respect he got yesterday in the White House. Zelensky respects him. Hey, Zelensky wore nicer clothes this time.
Ah,
Very good.
I posted that video on my Instagram. And by the way, I want to tell everybody that's in the Rumble chat, I ended up having to change my Rumble handle. So I'm now Mrs. Florida 2016. So find me in the Rumble chat and please follow me. I promise that I'm going to engage and interact, but I was getting locked out of my account. So I just had to set up a new handle. But thankfully, I got Mrs. Florida 2016. So we're in good shape. But
Oh,
I'm in there. The chat's going crazy this morning. It always is.
well, check this out on from the New York Post. Georgia Maloney and other European leaders share the same sentiments about the press as Donald Trump. This was from a hot mic. It was pretty cool. Let's see if everybody can hear this.
That's all we ask for is fairness with the media. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Now just listen closely. And these are the European leaders, the ones who supposedly don't respect Trump. All right, keep going.
No, thank you for being so fair.
All the time.
But he loves it. He loves it. For he does it. He does it always. I never want to speak with my friends.
He's a very good player. Go.
Did you hear that? Maloney's like, I never want to speak to my friends. I've become a bigger fan of Georgia Maloney every day. She's been very respectable. She's bringing Italy back to
Yeah.
a better level. But the fact is, a 4'10" woman scares the crap out of every leftist in this country and in Europe. They whine about you saying, Republicans and conservatives are afraid of strong women. And they actually use people like Joy Behar and Kamala Harris as an example. No, in fact, it's the left that's
Yeah.
afraid of strong women. And when I say
Yeah.
strong women, I think of Marine Le Pen. I think
Yeah.
of Georgia Maloney.
Yeah, it gold in my ear. I mean, we could go on and on about,
Oh, and Trixie, by
historical
the way.
women and
Definitely
Trixie, of
Trixie.
course. Definitely Trixie's going down in history. That's for sure. History in the chat. And I know that Sean Lucas is in there this morning, Insider. I mean, everybody's there. It's amazing. We already have like 200 people watching us, Chris, which is sometimes kind of intimidating. I feel like I should be interacting more.
And well, same here. The problem is I have to drive and interact at the same time. When Tony's back, I'll get to
Ooh,
interact
yeah,
a little
I
bit
know.
more.
We appreciate you driving though. I'm not the best driver. I like you driving. I can drive, but given a choice, I prefer to not sit in the driver's seat. I'm like a passenger princess. I think that's what they call it.
Well,
That's the new term for it.
the other thing is, I always tell people when I really drive, if you don't like the way I drive, stay off the sidewalk.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
Look out.
since we're on this subject, let's have a little bit more fun. Keir Starmer has shown the world that he is, in fact, let's go.
Mm.
He is, in fact, the Kamala Harris of Britain. Check it out.
Mr. Prime Minister. Prime Minister.
Much, Mr. President, and thank you for hosting us here. Can I start where Emmanuel started, which is we all want peace. The war in Ukraine has had a huge impact, particularly on the Ukrainians who've borne the brunt of it, but it's also had an impact on Europe and on the United Kingdom. There's not a family or community that hasn't been affected. And when we talk about security, we're talking about the security not just of Ukraine, we're talking about the security of Europe and the United Kingdom as well, which is why this is such an important issue. I think this is such an important meeting. As a group, I think we've had a discussion.
It's such an important issue, such an important meeting. We need peace, and this meeting is so important. Oh yeah, thank you, Kamala Starmer.
Yeah, and I love our president because his face tells it all. I think for so many of us, like there's some comic relief in all of this, right? As strenuous as all of this is, and as terrible as the war is, you look at Donald Trump and you can read exactly what he's thinking when somebody speaks. Doesn't matter who it is. And just so many things about this meeting are so beautiful for us as a country because finally we have somebody that's sitting in the driver's seat, right? The driver's seat, pun intended,
Yeah.
who's actually driving the bus for us. And it's really refreshing. And I think in the second term, we're seeing a whole new president. We're seeing somebody who is so much more diligent and so much more aggressive in a positive way to say, no, it's time. We're sitting down. This is how we're going to do it. You're going to come here. This is how we're going to do it. Welcome. And he's the person there welcoming all these leaders. We truly are the most powerful country in the world, and we have to maintain that position. And leadership like this makes me smile. It reminds me why I'm proud to be an American.
Oh.
And beyond here, of course, Wake Up Patriots. I think everybody here is woken up already to the fact that it's a beautiful thing to have the 47th president of the United States, back here representing us, especially on this world stage.
And do you notice something missing from that table, by the way?
There were a lot of things missing from that table. What you got? What you got? Give me a hint.
Its best productions are hockey, maple syrup, and men without hats.
Trudeau. True
Trudeau's
that.
gone.
True that. What are we talking about?
Carney now. It's
What
Carney
are we talking
now.
about? Oh, it is. See, I don't even pay attention to Canadian politics. This is how disconnected I am from what's going on in Canada. I could give an SHIT because to me, it's really like a radical Muslim country. That's how I view Canada now. True story.
That's like Minnesota.
It is. It's
Parts
like
of
Minnesota.
Michigan.
I try to forget about Ilhan Omar. I try to forget about these things. I'm constantly reminded, but sometimes I forget.
Well, I want to bring something else up that I saw yesterday. I was doing another show. I host a show on America Out Loud called Unleash the Political News Hour. I do the Wednesday show. And I want to get into that in just a few moments. But the idea that because what you mentioned about the Muslim nation and the Muslim areas, I want to get into that. But first off, it's funny because Canada is now considered pretty much or it was relegated to the children's table at this point. There's the place.
As it should be.
Leadership's heads up their arse.
It's lucky they're at the table at all, right? That they're even invited at this point. No.
Right, exactly, but that's a clear statement by these European leaders and the U.S. Even symbolically, they didn't bring Carney in. It's a clear statement that they really don't care, and Canada's pretty much again. You know what? Maybe if they have a G55, it can be invited one of these days. But anyway,
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I didn't really care either, and I don't think most of our chat cares from what I was reading. I think we all pretty much have the same take when it comes to our northern neighbors. Unfortunately, when Donald Trump came in, remember he was talking about, maybe, inviting Canada to become a part of the U.S. Certainly something would be improvement, but it would be nice if we could get, I see you have the Michigan up there. It'd be nice if we could get some of our states back first. We got to focus on ourselves.
Well, that's I stumbled across this story. I was looking at News of the Day to talk about, and it's about a Michigan city councilman. And you'll see the video. I don't. Here's the video right here. I don't really care about playing it right now, but this gentleman is a Muslim Democrat who stuffed the ballot box. He was caught on video stuffing a ballot box right here uh, before the primary and wound up winning by about 12 or so votes.
Insane.
Yeah, well,
Insane.
let's see. Hold on a second. No, wrong guy. I'm sorry, wrong
Oh,
number. He apparently won by, let's see, beating out another 11 candidates with 1,129 votes. Apparently, I'm not sure how the story goes. I heard different stories. He won by a few, but there were a bunch of these he was caught stuffing. Okay, now obviously it's alleged till he gets convicted. But I read a little further. All 6 councilmen in this city, and I think it's called Hambrank. All 6 of them are Muslim. 3 of them, by the way, are in trouble for this ballot stuffing. All 6 of them are Muslim. There's a population of about 70% Muslim in this portion, this district, this hamlet, or whatever you want to call it, city in Michigan. And if you look at Dearborn, you look at parts of Detroit
hmm
and parts of Minneapolis. I want to ask a question. I think this is very serious. Democrat-led states, are they ghettoizing Muslims? Are they concentrating Muslims or people of certain descent into small areas, either just to get power and representation in Congress, or to, let's say, NIMBY them because the rich liberals that they really represent don't care and don't want them anywhere near where they live. So you ghettoize them, not much unlike what New York City did to immigrants back in the early part of the 20th century.
Wow. Well, I think that's really kind to think that, quite frankly. I am more of the philosophy of thinking that a lot of these people, especially the people that come in here illegally, are radicalized and that they're actually sleeper cells. And when you talk about building communities, my thought is they're not really building a community, they're building a takeover of Sharia law and a takeover of things that are not Western ideals that don't serve our country. And that may sound very radical coming from me, right? That's a lot. You're like, ooh, that's a lot to process. But unfortunately, I don't think that a lot of these people that come here and willing to break laws are people that have good intentions and that are trying to assimilate and are trying to learn the culture and want to be a part of America. I think they're here as opportunists and a lot of times for sinister means. And it's a scary, scary thing. And you look at Michigan, I have a video of a Israeli woman landing in France and being completely berated getting off the plane. I mean, there's just things that are going on when it comes to the anti-Semitic rants that are taking place in a free country like ours. Never mind, look at what's going on in Europe. But when you talk about Michigan and you talk about these communities, Chris, I think you're being very, very, very generous and kind in thinking that the Democrats are not manipulating all of us, and not only manipulating all of us, but that they aren't in bed with the demonic influence that is really what drives this radical Muslim culture. And I'm not talking about people that are trying to raise their families that have good intentions, that are Muslim because that's how they grew up and that's their family tradition, and I get it. But a lot of these people are converts. That radical Muslim influence is not something that we can turn our backs on in this country, and Michigan is a perfect example of that.
All
I
right,
mean, I think sleeper cell, that's where I go.
let me go. Let me take this a step further. It's a combination of the two, because rich liberals will always tell you that they want that we're the racist ones. We're the
Of course.
up the rear end. They say, oh, we should let criminals do things because they're poor, and we should blah blah blah. We should have more affordable housing, or we should have all these wind tunnels, but not near us. You
Right.
got to put them in concentrated areas where other people have to live near them. And this, my friends, is why we get the issues with this is why we get the issue with what's happening in Dearborn, with what's happening in parts of Minneapolis and and of course this other part of Michigan, where these people are kind of concentrated in certain areas. Yes, I do believe you could say sleeper cell, but it's a political sleeper cell. The idea is to gain power
Yes.
for the Muslim community, and a lot of third worlders come into these European nations and America, and they don't care about living like us or becoming American. They want to establish
Right.
Sharia law where they are.
They do. They
Right.
do. And I'm not saying that every single person is a suicide bomber by any stretch of the imagination. But when you're willing to say, if you don't agree with me, I want to kill you, which is basically Sharia law and is basically a jihad, right? And then they talk about jihad and how it's a silent war and how you don't tell your enemies what you're doing, right? And that every little bit that you can do can get you closer to that place of eternal peace, right? But they're okay with slaughter. They're okay with war. All of these things are not a part of peaceful society. And when you look at a country like Israel and you look at a country that's bound on Judaism and you look at a country of peace where Muslims and Jews live side by side in the midst of a war without any real war going on the streets of Israel, that's when you know that this is a fight that is about God. This is a fight that's about what's right and being on the right side of history. And unfortunately, being an Islamic jihadist is not being on the right side of history. And when you talk about people like Ilhan Omar, in my opinion, she's an Islamic jihadist. I mean, that's how I see her. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You are fighting a silent war against America, and you're on board with it, and you're doing it. And you're basically driving Sharia law down people's throats in Michigan. I mean, what a terrible way to live. These people are of the devil. That is my opinion.
I will tell you this. I do agree with you there. I also do agree with the fact that these people are also opportunists. They want to come in here,
Absolutely.
and the idea is, and let's not sugarcoat it. The Quran says to spread
Do
Sharia
I
law,
ever?
and everybody else is a bunch of infidels. So we could be
Absolutely.
killed
And
no
we can
matter
kill
what.
them because they don't agree with us. So if you don't agree with killing people that don't agree with us, well, then we'll kill you too. Right?
That's right, because it doesn't matter. You're all infidels. Well, we were warned about this back in the 19th century. John Quincy Adams wrote a paper and said that these people will look at us, they'll make an agreement, and they don't have to keep it because by Sharia law, they can shake our hand, promise us anything we want, and then go back on it because we're infidels. We don't count as people. And this is the same thing when it comes to the Hamas war, the war in Gaza. Netanyahu knows the deal. He reached out, he sent an olive branch out there, and they wouldn't take it. So here's what happens. Now you got it. Now the Israelis have to do what they have to do, while these
Absolutely.
terrorists hide behind children and elderly just to take down the soldiers. We're trying to.
It's unbelievable. I mean, there's so many things wrong, and just it absolutely sickens me. And everybody knows the rant that I'm on because the chat is completely in agreement. The chat is absolutely on the same page that it's gone too far, and that you can't sleep with the enemy. Like that's like the rules of War 101, right? Like, and this is the enemy, and we have allowed the enemy to penetrate Congress and do things to basically turn a state into some sort of, utopia for people that are against our country and Western ideals. I mean, what kind of bizarre world are we living in, Chris?
Exactly.
Really?
And we are hoping to have Christina Bobb on pretty soon. We're trying to get her
I hope
into the
so.
studio here, and we're going to talk about her
Fabulous.
book. Yeah, the plan is
I
to talk
can't
about,
wait.
right. The plan is to talk about her book, and it's called Defiant, and it was inside the Mar-a-Lago raid and the left's ongoing lawfare. We're going to talk about all of that too, but that's going to be fun when she gets in. We're having a little trouble with it right now, so if it doesn't work out, we're going to pull that off too. But let's get into this.
We always though,
Right.
and I'll miss Christina if we don't see her, but mad respect, and I will read the book whether or not she's on the show, and I'll even do a little book review for everybody. I just need to get my hands on a copy.
Right. But let's get into it. So basically, I believe we both are right here. You're 100% right that these third worlders from the Islamic world, many of them, the law of averages say not all of them, but there's a good number, and the prominent ones want to come in and change to Sharia law, and then the left obliges because hey, they can virtue signal and they can concentrate people into one or two areas, which will give them representation in Congress if they toe the line, which they will, because their ends justify their means. Their ends will be justified by those means, and vice versa. So this is why you see a lot of Democrats marching against Israel. This is why you see a lot of anti-Semitic Democrats, because I almost believe they have a sacred covenant with certain, let's just say, less savory people from the Muslim world, not much unlike the National Socialist Party of Germany's leader before World War II, had the same kind of sacred covenant with a not so savory Islamic leader.
Yep, and that's exactly how things went down, Chris. That's exactly how World War II started. Most people don't know those facts. I know that you're a historian, but that's
Right.
absolutely how we went down that slippery slope to basically genocide, just to sum it up. And we could be there again if it wasn't for the fact that, we've been fortunate enough. I mean, imagine we had to live through another few years of a Democrat administration running this country. Would we have made it? Would we even celebrate our 250th anniversary? Would we get to that point where we would be able to have a celebration? I think a lot of us questioned on whether or not we were ever going to get our country back. And now we're here, but we still have so much work to do. And when you talk about like everything we've talked about on the show this morning, I mean, think about it. You're talking about mail-in ballots. You're talking about things that we have rehashed over and over again for 4 or 5 years at this point, going back to the end of Donald Trump's first term, because basically during that time, towards the end, he wasn't really able to get as much done because they were persecuting him so bad. At that point, there was a takeover and undermining. You talk about a jihad. There was a jihad. There was a jihad against all of us when they put Joe Biden in that White House. Let's face facts. That's what that was. It was a basic government takeover, whether you think the election was stolen or not. Everybody is going to be on the side of history where we're going to have more and more facts come out. And if you look at the facts that have already come out, you look at the Steele dossier, you look at all of the things that the fake news was perpetuated on, and you think to yourself, Chris, you know what you think to yourself? You think, wouldn't MSNBC want to change their name by now?
Oh, yes, and it would. So that's what they did. By the way, they have to do it because MSNBC is no longer or will no longer be an NBC asset. They just cut it off because it ruins the brand. I mean, that's obviously true. I mean, NBC is extremely liberal to start with, but think about this. A network has to be really bad to ruin its brand at this point. So
This has
go
gotten so bad. As somebody who worked for, mainstream media back in the day, it wasn't like this. This is off the chain and they should change their name. It's
so,
terrible.
so let's hear
Blech.
old Joey talk about this.
Blech.
We will become MS.
Whoops. That's on me. All right, let's try that again because this is what happens on live television, live streams. Here we go.
I mean,
We
MS
will become
Now.
MS Now, which stands for my source for news, opinion, and the world. And look, Andrew, they even have a graphic up. I like
There it is.
Oh, equal. Huh, that's a
I
little
wanna
dog
know.
whistle.
I feel like are people who have MS angry? Are the people with multiple sclerosis upset this morning? Because
Oh,
this sounds like seriously like a charity name to me. MS Now, like it sounds like we're raising money for people who have multiple sclerosis. If you said what is MS Now, that would be what I would think. And honestly, I feel like it's almost like plagiarizing, like, and taking away the validity of that disease too. Like, it's bad enough there were already fake news, but now this.
well, let's
I'm
put it this
just,
way.
yeah,
You know why
I
the
don't
MS
even
is
like
there.
it.
You know
I
why
don't
the
like
MS.
it.
You know why the MS is there, right?
MSNBC.
Yeah, MS for MSNBC. You know why it's there, right? It was a collaboration between Microsoft and NBC. That's why it was called MSNBC. Microsoft NBC
I
National
did not
Broadcasting
know that, but
Corporation.
that makes entire sense. And
Right.
that sums up so much of where the source of the problem is. So, source code, Microsoft, I mean, it all sort of ties back together, it's all a code. It's all a
Well,
code.
right, but now they decided that to change it. Now they kept the MS, the technical Microsoft branding portion of MSNBC, and they're calling it my source for news, opinion, and the world. Now, obviously, it's just going to be the O more than anything else because anybody's source for news, MSNBC is not. And W, well, the world, whatever world, very narrow worldview. There we go. My source for narrow, old worldview.
I don't know who's going to be watching this now. Like, what kind of an audience do they have? Because really, the audience was the NBC audience. I mean, that's the only reason that they survived was they got these people, these older people who are still voters, right? They're still voters, but who watches Morning Joe? What is their demographic? I mean, it's got to be definitely a skewing older demographic. I mean, they're going to go like online at MS Now? Like, where is this? What is this? I don't even like any of it. I just think it's ridiculous.
Oh, here
I
we
think
go.
they're done. I think they've been done. And I don't know why we're even continuing to have them on air at all. Like, just go do something else, Joe. Just
Because we need a
find
fifth
another
leg.
job.
And Colbert needs a place to go
We
after he's
don't.
out of the late night. However, let's pose the question to the Patriots here. What should MSNOW really stand for? And Man K is a good one. More snotty nabobbery, obfuscation, and weasel words. Darn, that's better than narrow old worldview now.
Majorly stupid, Beach Cat Blues says.
There we go. That's a good one.
Muddled sanity, Beach Cat Blues. Let's see. What has everybody else got? Yeah, hold on.
Cancel
Let's
MS.
see.
I like that.
You got
Okay.
some. You got some. I don't
Yeah.
know where did my chat go. I got to go back
So
to my chat.
It's more stupid, narrow old worldviews. But let's welcome
Aunt
Christina
Jana's
Bobb.
my favorite. Aunt Jana says misguided S heads, which I really like. I like that one. That's
What
my
do you think?
favorite.
What do you
I
think,
win
Christina
that
Bobb?
one.
What do you think, Christina Bobb? What should MSNOW really stand for? My vote is more stupid, narrow old worldview. We got some really good ones from the Patriots.
I think they misspelled it. The first letter should be B.
Yeah, exactly. So great to
BSBNC.
see you.
You as well. I'm sorry I had technical problems getting on. I was freaking out a little bit, so I apologize I'm late.
That's okay. Well, maybe the feds were going to raid there anyway, so we'll see what happens. By the way, check this book out. This is Christina Bobb's new one, Defiant, Inside the Mar-a-Lago Raid and the Left's Ongoing Lawfare. I'm going to be passing the baton to Tony Shaffer in just a few moments, but let's get into this. I want to say this first off and foremost. The media lied about the whole thing in several ways, but the worst of it is they kept calling these documents classified. Sorry, people, a president can declassify documents and bring them in. And I'll venture a guess. A lot of these declassified documents had a lot of what we're discovering out of the waste in America, waste in government spending, and the Biden administration's autopen or Biden administration's abuses, or sorry, the Obama administration's abuses when it came to Russiagate beforehand. But again, that's my opinion as I pass the baton to Tony.
Hey, good morning.
Hey,
sorry
good
I'm
morning.
late.
Oh, good. I was late too.
I know this is, I know it's odd as it sounds. I'm on a board of directors of a hospital.
Oh, how do they rope you into these things, Tony?
What do? You do all these things. Like, there's like a whole secret life. You're like Superman. You're like Clark Kent.
I don't know if they think of it that way, but yeah, we had to approve the budget. So yes, I'm on the ECSU hospital board, and I keep trying to get them to send me to medical school, but they won't. I don't know why. You put me on a board, I need to be a doctor. What can I say? Right? So anyway, well, Christina, thanks for being here. By the way, I'm sorry I missed Jesus Calling. I could probably use him today.
You probably could.
Being on the board and everything.
Just replay it.
We can do a post show, Tony. We can
do it. That's
do
right.
a little post show thing. Yeah,
That's
we'll
good.
do it for the Patriots. We'll do it again.
Man K says, please thank Christina for her hard work and sacrifice. Let's talk about
it's so nice.
Yeah, Christina. So let's talk about this. So I think it's clear that a lot of us were speaking out about this a long time before it became popular, and it took courage, right? So how did you find the courage to kind of continue to do what you were doing when you knew that the whole world? And by the way, did you hear MSNBC change its name to
I heard it right here. Yeah.
Mostly Soviet news, MS, mostly Soviet.
More stupid, narrow, old worldview.
Yeah. So how did you continue to make it through during the dark days?
Well, I mean, I didn't really have a choice, right? I had the Department of Justice, the FBI, the California State Bar, the state of Arizona. I mean, everybody was after me. I'm still a criminal defendant in the state of Arizona. And so you fight your way through it. That's the only thing you can do. And so I would love to say like, oh, I was so brave and, kind of thumb my nose at it. The whole thing was terrifying and awful. I'm not going to lie. But you just keep going and you just fight through it. And we did fight through it for the most part. I love how liberals are crying, saying, oh, Trump wants to weaponize the Department of Justice. Excuse me, they are still prosecuting about 60 of us right now. Yeah. Like we are still criminal defendants. And so, and Karyn, you do actually make an appearance in the book. So
I do.
nice.
you are in there.
I love it.
Wow.
Yep.
I have to tell you that I think so fondly of our time together sitting in the
Yeah.
gallery of that courthouse. I
Yep.
think about it all the time. And you were there for me. It was a really dark time for me too. And I knew what you were going through. And I
Yeah.
had just been through my chaos and I was watching it unfold for you. And I was thinking, please, God, have her back.
Oh,
And you
thank
showed
you.
such strength and such courage in everything that you did. And the way that you moved with such grace through this experience, I was singing your praises at the beginning of the show, which you probably didn't hear, but it was really magical to watch. And out of all the people that are on the Trump team, I have to tell you that you are definitely one of my favorites. You're a standout.
Oh, thank you.
God bless
Thank you
you.
so much.
Tony,
No,
I'll
I
put you in
appreciate,
mind.
I appreciate that.
Well, I think that's one of my questions, and I was actually talking to Sean Spicer yesterday. I was on his podcast, but one of the things I said, I think it was off air, but I don't think he'd mind me saying this, is like, dude, there were enemies within the Trump administration, inside the wire.
For sure.
And so my issue, obviously, because I, was once told, I don't know if you heard Christina, we figured out in the spring of 2017 that the whole Russia thing was stupid. It was false. And I was advising both Mike Pompeo and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Joe Dunford, at the time. And we it's like, hey, we need to have the FBI audited. They're lying. And so I was told by Pompeo, it's like, yeah, you're right, but I can't approve it. You got to go talk to the president. So with the approval of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, because I wanted to have DOD as a peer do an audit of FBI, which they can, and with the blessing of Mike Pompeo and the chairman of Joint Chiefs, I had to go talk to John Kelly. And I don't know how much, if any, experience you have with John Kelly, but I think that guy needs to be looked at for a number of things. Anyway, when I talked to John, I said, look, John, I need to talk to the president, because I need to have him give us permission to have the Department of Defense, the Army, counterintelligence folks do an audit of the FBI because they're dirty. Christina, John Kelly looked me in the eye and said, Tony, I am never going to permit you to see the president, because all you're going to do is inflame his instincts, unquote. So, Christina, I mean, what was up with the fact that there were so many people playing for the other team in the Trump administration? And do you think we should do something about it now?
Well, I think everybody needs to be investigated, right? I don't think this is let's target Democrats because they targeted us.
Oh, I agree.
You can't do that.
Well,
you just open an honest investigation, and if some of the people are former Trump administration officials, so be it. That's just the way it is. But yeah, I think Trump 2.0, they absolutely everything should be fair game.
Well, and I think that's the issue now. What could, if you were able to get back and fix things, what would be the top 3 things you'd want to do immediately to start this, both fixing yourself and fixing the process? You
mean now or back then?
Now.
Now. I think they're doing it. I mean, the federal government's a behemoth of a thing, and so it's there is no quick fix. But as far as I can tell, I think that they're doing it. You definitely want to root out the bad apples in the FBI and in the intel community. I mean, it really comes down to the intel community and the people who kowtow to the gods that be of intel. So you've got to root that out. And I think they're in the process of doing that. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard has done an amazing job exposing what we all suspected to be true, but just didn't have the proof for it. So she's exposed that. From what I hear, they've opened grand juries. They're actually potentially going to prosecute people, which I'd be shocked if they didn't at this point. But so I think they're doing it. And to your point, I think we also need to look at both sides. I mean, I don't think Republicans are good guys and Democrats are bad guys. There's corruption throughout the process, and just clean out the process.
Yeah. Right. Well, no, I know Jim Clapper personally, and that guy's been corrupt since I knew him when he was a 2-star general in the 80s.
Well, they all get full of themselves. They're impressed with the fact that they have clearances, and I've had a top secret clearance. I've been in that world, in that community, and
me too.
There's a real. I mean, there's a real group of people that genuinely believe, oh, I have a clearance. I'm important. I'm part of the intel community. I have secrets. So I'm better than everybody. So I should get to dictate whatever they feel like they should be like.
And they are some of the stupidest people you will ever meet.
Only a stupid person would come to that conclusion. I mean, how can you believe that you're better than someone just because you have a security clearance and you're in a position of power? You're not the one that's great. The power comes from the position because it's the American people who give you that power. And so don't fool yourself into believing that just because you're in the intel community, you yourself have some sort of power. You don't.
And that's the thing. So within the context of the intelligence community, and I think that's a great way of going into this next question I want to ask. During the 2017-2018 year, I got information because I'm a spy, and I still, I spy. What can I say?
Right.
And one of my spies in the FBI told me that 70%, 70, of the foreign counterintelligence budget, that is to say, the budget that the FBI is supposed to be using to catch spies. Well, it wasn't being spent to catch spies. It was spent on trying to find a way. There's Johnny English. Yeah, there's the
that's
top
where the
spy.
money
That's
gone.
Jim Clapper's top spy. Anyway,
right.
Christina, they were spending 70% of the budget not on trying to protect America and catch spies. They were spending 70% of the budget to try to get Trump and get people like you.
To go after their political opponent. I believe wholeheartedly I was surveilled and that they targeted me. And, they didn't call me a target, although I have no doubt that they tapped my cell phone and anybody that was communicating with President Trump.
No doubt.
They absolutely did.
They did.
So, I think FISA is like the most evil sin, the whole Patriot Act. But what's funny about it? And this is such a weird, convoluted thing. It goes to show that it's not about policy, it's about power. And the people in power are doing nothing but trying to hold on to their power. And that's the perfect point, because it's Republicans who vote to continue FISA. But yet, so Democrats get on their high horse, kind of rightfully on this position, saying, oh, FISA is bad, we need to do away with it. Whenever they have votes on it, it's split 50-50. All the Democrats vote against FISA. All the Republicans vote for it. Mike Johnson cast the tie-breaking vote for FISA. So FISA continues. But it's the Democrats that are abusing it against Americans, unless Republicans are as well, and they just haven't been caught. So I don't know, but it's a weird thing where Republicans are like, no, we need to continue to do this. Even when Donald Trump himself gets up there and says FISA is terrible, it's being abused, they're spying on Americans, like it needs to end. Donald Trump gets up and says that. He knows what it's like to be spied on. They used FISA against Donald Trump to spy on his campaign in 2016. And yet Republicans still get up there and continue to vote for it.
Well, this is what I don't understand, and I'm with you on this because I can't get into a lot of detail, but I can tell you that the collection capabilities of NSA are greater than people fully understand. I'll just say that. And it's supposed to, and by the way, I've gotten chewed out by Louis Gohmert and others because I was part of the development of a lot of that stuff. And the idea was, we're developing this technology to go spy on the bad guys.
Right.
And
the bad guys meaning aren't my political opponents.
Well, no, I mean bad guys being the foreign, Russia, China.
Right, but I know what you're saying. Sorry.
So Louis Gohmert yelled at me one time. So how did you not understand this could be turned back on the American people? Well, because I have ethics. That's why.
Right.
Because the idea is you establish this stuff for purposes and with protocols in place to protect it. That's the problem. Technology is ambivalent to the user. It doesn't care. What the issue is, like you point out, Christina, is that people like me develop these things. I'd like to believe we have an ethical base. We actually do this for purposes of protecting the American people and our allies. But instead of that, the people like Clapper, like Brennan, like Comey, see this as a way of benefiting personally, and they turn these capabilities on the American people because they think it benefits them to suck up to the Democrats. Is that a good summary? Because that's what they really did here.
I think everybody has their own motivation, and the problem is the motivation isn't whatever, the variety of whatever they are. The motivation isn't to support the American people, to protect the American people, to ensure we all have freedoms. It's how can I put myself a little bit ahead of my neighbors?
Exactly.
And when you have so many people doing that, those of us that aren't politicians, that aren't working in politics and are just trying to live our lives and, go to work and run a business and raise a family and go to church, everybody is putting themselves just a little bit ahead of us. And so the rest of us get screwed. And I mean, that's what they're all doing.
Right.
Christina, I got to ask you, because watching what you went through and watching your love for freedom and the administration and wanting to fight and do the things that you did, was there a point, the show is called Wake Up Patriots. What was the point that you woke up and you realized just how bad it was?
Every time I got subpoenaed, sued, indicted, I always was like, holy cow, I can't believe this is so bad. And then 3 months later, there was another one. And then I go, oh my gosh, this is so bad. I can't believe this is happening. And then 3 months later, there was another one. I mean, in a period of 3 years, about 6 months into the Biden administration, and then 6 months before the Biden administration was over, I was sued, subpoenaed, indicted, deposed, all of the things 9 times, which means like every 3 to 4 months. And it was a rolling process. It wasn't all at once. And so it was like every 3 or 4 months, I was getting hit with another one for 3 years.
Wow. 9 times. I didn't know it was 9 times.
9. Yeah. Because I got sucked into both the Jack Smith investigations because of my work with Rudy Giuliani after the election, and then the Mar-a-Lago one, and then the J6 committee. And then there were cops that sued the president for, causing them emotional distress, or I don't know what kind of BS.
Wow.
Like I think I got subpoenaed in civil suits like 6 times, something like that. I got deposed, I don't even know, 4, 5, 6 times maybe. And then I had to testify before grand juries and in bar proceedings. And I mean, it was absolutely insane. And some of my testimonies were voluntary. Like I wanted to support Rudy Giuliani because
they want to financially break you, and they want to throw so much stuff at you that you give up, that you can't fight anymore. They want to take so many shots at you, like the shot they took at the president, that you just, fall down and can't get back up.
As a message to others too, by the way. Yes.
Yeah. Well, full disclosure, Christina, I was helping Bernie, God rest his soul, Bernie Carrick, try to help recover Rudy Giuliani's law license. I was providing a great deal of information regarding our investigations. Great. You might recall I did the pallet of ballots investigation, the Jesse Morgan investigation.
Regarding
the move. Yeah. So
that's
that was all real.
Now. People are looking at that going,
it's coming back.
Look at that was real.
Wow.
Just saying.
Who knew?
We had no idea. They were being honest.
No. I mean, it's kind of strange that people, the fact that Bill Barr personally called me and got me fired from the project. Gee, that's a clue. Who has the Attorney General of the United States firing people who aren't, supposed to be doing. Anyway, another story. But my point is, I sat down with Rudy in his apartment in New York in October of 2020. And Rick Grinnell had asked me to go give him a briefing. Now, Christina, I laid out what was about to come. And I'll be blunt. And Rudy and I have had this conversation. We knew that they were going to do what they were going to do. We laid it out. We said, these are the things they're going to do. They're going to take and basically decouple President Trump from all access to social media, which they did. We had names. And I'll never forget, unfortunately, Rudy, Rudy at the end of the briefing, he says, Colonel Shaffer, I don't doubt what you're saying, but the numbers are so good, we're not worried about this, unquote. And I had a chill go up my spine. It's like, I don't think you all understand how massive this is going to be. So why was it that people were so asleep before November of 2020? Because we're trying to warn them. It's like, no. And I was the national security advisor to the Trump 2020 campaign, and I'm advising you, this is bad. There's a storm coming, and everybody seemed to not be paying attention.
I wouldn't say nobody was paying attention. I mean, President Trump was saying from the White House podium, they're going to cheat with mail-in ballots. I mean, he was saying that. And I think Rudy's point is valid, that the level that they I mean, it took them 3 days to create enough ballots to overcome
Exactly.
So had people just demanded that the law be followed only on timing, forget about mail-in ballots and keeping, if only the law on timing had been followed, which it had been followed for every election prior. This was the first election where they stopped counting. If they just hadn't stopped counting, if they had just, the reason they stopped counting was because they ran out of ballots and they didn't like the results. And so I don't think anybody anticipated that they would delay for 3 days and say, okay, we'll pick it up again, in 3 days and the outcome is going to be changed. I think that was pretty wild. And I think Rudy was right that they weren't able to overcome the difference on election night. It was the fact that they
Well,
stopped
they weren't.
counting. That had never been done.
My point is, we on the intelligence side were saying they don't care. they're going to.
No, I know, but the difference is
after...
the time. I mean, I don't think anybody anticipated that they would stop the election in the middle of the election. That was new. That had never been done before.
I was sitting in the ballroom at Mar-a-Lago. I will never forget it. And everybody was on such a high. Everything was going so well. And I don't know if you were there, Christina. The room got
at the White
super
House.
quiet. Yeah, I was in Mar-a-Lago, and it got super quiet. And we just all stood around for what seemed like hours. I ended up going home. I was like, I'm going home. Like, I'm not going to sit here anymore. It was, I mean, just what an incredible disservice to the American people. I can't believe we lived through this. And you know what they're calling you in the chat, Christina? You know what your new name is?
What?
Florida for Trump has named you Unbreakable Bob.
I like that.
So that is your new name, Unbreakable
That's
Bob.
wonderful.
As far as the 2020 election is concerned here, we knew what was going to happen. They warned us. We after a little while, when Trump was getting more momentum, he was beating Joe Biden in the debates. During that season, we saw articles kind of flicker out from the liberal side, like the Huffington Post and others were starting to put this thing forth called the Red Mirage. They were preparing America for a win for Donald Trump and maybe a congressional win that day. But later on, when all these votes were counted 9-10 days later, you would see some of the red turn blue. And that is where they said, we're going to cheat. We're going to do that. We're telling you this, but you're going to think it's plausible because we made it look like so. And then after that, they bragged, and one of these people bragged in Time magazine about how they cheated and fortified the election. Yet places like YouTube would keep us from talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, they all need to be prosecuted. This was all one big grand conspiracy to get rid of Donald Trump that started back in 2015, 2016, and they kept going. So yeah, I'm so glad Ed Martin is leading the charge at DOJ and looking into the weaponization of justice, and all these people need to be held accountable.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I think that. So let me ask you this question, because I think this is something that the Patriots want. I know I want. Should people go to prison?
Oh yeah, yes. Undoubtedly. I mean, I assume you're talking about the Mar-a-Lago aspect of it.
Well, no, I'm talking about the people you've talked about and the seniors. I mean, look, one of the people I just mentioned that I have problems with is Bill Barr.
Yeah.
Bill Barr, I think, was playing for the other side.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, who at the last minute starts doing everything he can to knock down and dispute and ignore legitimate points, Christina, that you and we've just talked about just now.
Yeah.
We all knew this was going to happen. And Bill Barr was the guy who had the potential.
He ran cover for them. He let them know, hey, you're not going to be prosecuted if you do it.
Yeah, exactly. So Bill, James Comey, I mean, there's a whole.
Ray. I mean,
Christopher Wray.
Hillary Clinton, James Clapper, Brennan, the whole.
That's why Hull voter Brennan, by the way.
Yeah. So
they all should be prosecuted.
Yeah. So who would make this best cellmate with Hillary? Would that be John Brennan or Jim Clapper?
I wouldn't want. I mean, if you're a cellmate with Hillary, that's like a death sentence. Like, I don't know that anybody deserves that.
Unless you have enough cigarettes.
Right. So, yeah.
Well, again, they feared Trump, and I always say this because Trump was always at their parties. Trump was everywhere with them for all these years, gave them money. He supported the Democrats as they were. But see, he doesn't drink. So the most dangerous guy at any party, any political function is the sober guy.
True story.
He knows everything. He knows where the documents are.
He remembers
where the bodies are buried.
everything.
This is why they're afraid of him. That's the whole thing. That's right. And they're
great
still
point.
afraid of him. Right.
Well, what's interesting, I mean, you should so I was watching, don't tell anybody, I was watching Sex and the City the other day.
Oh,
just saying.
What are you
I got trapped into it. I got trapped into it. I know. Well, I like Big. Big's cool. I can't believe they killed him off, but that's a different story.
Melrose Place.
By the way, Kim Cattrall has to come back.
He was kind of douchey. Big was douchey. He was douchey, Tony.
All right.
What can I say? Anyway, back to the story. Donald Trump made a cameo in the second season. So they loved the guy. He was part of culture, to Chris's point. He was embedded in the very DNA of America. And yet somehow now, Christina, we're supposed to hate him. So that's the last thing I think we'll hit real quick. How is it now? And by the way, he's doing good things. They just talked about the neighborhoods in DC actually appreciating what he's doing with law enforcement.
Yeah.
Looks like he's going to end the war. What would it take for anybody on the left to stop the incessant, I would say, completely irrational emotional reactions to President Trump? What do you think needs to be done to change that, or is it
people need to go to jail? There need to be prosecutions, and the whole charade of Trump is bad, we're trying to take him out, it's all connected. And as soon as the ringleaders of that go to prison and we expose everything that they've done, I don't think anybody will have the desire or like the ammo to continue to go after him. They're going after him because they're being funded, because they're political partisans that just want to destroy America. When you cut the head off of that operation, I think it dies.
Yeah.
So there needs to be some prosecution.
Well, I think, just for the record, I think it's great that Tulsi's going after the seniors, but there should have been people at the mid-level who spoke up. I was a whistleblower, as you might remember, on 9/11 stuff. Look, I sacrificed a lot to come forward. With that said, we're now having whistleblowers come forward. There should have been more, and I think we have an entire bureaucracy, both in the FBI and intelligence community, that still need to be examined. But that's for another day. Christina, would like to have you come back if that's okay.
I would love that. Thank you for having me, and I apologize I was a little late.
That's okay.
No, look, I was really late because I was.
It was great. How do we get the book? I need the book. How do I get the book? Can I go on Amazon today?
Yes,
It's a
It's
story.
right there on Amazon. You can't.
Yep,
miss it.
it's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold. It's
Can't
pre-order
wait.
right now. It comes out September 9th. So if you order it now, you'll get it the day it's released. So
I'll have it ready for
Okay.
my birthday. I'll read it for my birthday.
Absolutely.
Well, have you
Happy
come
birthday
back?
in advance, then.
I would love that.
Have you
Please
come
do.
We're doing
Yeah,
that.
but-
We'll get AJ. We'll
All
have you come back. It's going to be awesome.
That'd be great. Thank you.
We'll talk more about this. Great.
Okay.
Well, thanks for being here.
Thank you
and
so
thank
much.
the Patriots. Yeah, and thanks, Karyn. Always thank you for being here.
Nice seeing you.
we're-
See you next week, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. And Chris, I guess I'll see you tomorrow morning, right? Again.
Yes. We'll
I
be
mean,
here
I don't-
tomorrow morning.
I don't
you-
have any board meetings that I know of, and I'm not going to pretend to be a doctor tomorrow either. Just saying. So.
And you won't be bored tomorrow because
I've known
Annie-
a lot of people that have pretended to be doctors, by the way. Some of them were on TV, and other ones were married to a guy who was the president of the United States. All pretend doctors. You don't want to be in that category, Tony.
Yeah,
you
that's
don't
true.
want to be
All
in
right.
that
True story.
category.
All right,
True story.
we are, and you're not going to be bored tomorrow at this meeting because Annie Ubelis from the Southern Sense podcast is going to join us.
Excellent.
Ooh.
We've
Excellent.
been on with her before, and we're going to have her on with us this time. Have a little fun.
Great.
I'm going to miss
Well,
it. Maybe I'll be in the chat.
We'll
Well,
pop in. There we go.
You're always
In the
welcome
chat.
back. The door.
I'm happy in the
Karyn,
chat.
the
I'll
door
be in
is
the
always.
chat.
The door is always open to you. You always
right
you
in.
have
Thank
like
you.
a
Thank
you have a permanent parking space in front of my house or
Thank
virtually,
you.
whatever.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I
Right,
really
you
do.
won't get
I
mugged
love you
there.
guys.
Okay. Well, we'll see you, Patriots. We'll see. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.